But
A lot of people joining back then?
huh?
A lot of people joining the armed forces?
Oh, it was when you boot camp. Oh, in San Diego, the Marine Corps base. that parade ground where we trained was so packed full of platoons of young kids. It was amazing how we didn't hit. We went right around one another. The DAs were good. They yelled command of everything we had to do. Left oblique, right oblique, left turn. And we never went into one another. They couldn't. In fact, they stopped taking them in until we could get them out of there. Graduate. Tyrone Power, the actor, was in there. One platoon behind me. Glenn Ford was in there. Eddie Albert from Green Acres was in there.
Really?
Yes, we had people in there from Hollywood. Hollywood went to war.
Everybody was joining.
The Duke, John Wayne, tried to go in the Corps. And the officer said to him, he says, Duke, he said, take care of your family at home. You're 40 years old. He says, go home and take care of your boys and make movies so we can learn something. We learned from Hollywood. They had some good military movies.
Yeah.
They really did. It's exaggerated junk today. There is one I highly recommend, Letters from Iwo. That is a classic. If you want to know how the Japanese really felt about fighting on Iwo Jima, see that movie. They were lied to. They were told by the politicians that they were on a holy war. And that meant they would never surrender. They would always fight to the death. But all of a sudden, the soldiers start surrendering. They got word that they were lied to. That's what it was all about.
Well, what was your training like in Marine Corps boot camp?
The Marine Corps, very severe training. Our DIs were, I don't know what's going on now. I can't speak up for it now, but our DIs they had a lot of time in the Corps. They were salt. They'd been in the Philippines. They had really been around, and they were stiff. I mean, when you had rifle inspection in the morning, every morning, port arms, unload weapon, pull the bolt open. He would come by and grab that out of your hand and flip it around his hand, look through the barrel on that. He'd find something wrong. What is this? I looked at it and I thought, sure, I cleaned it. I said, sir, that's dirt. Wipe it right on my face, just like that. Clean it off and clean your weapon. I want everything clean on that weapon tomorrow. I mean, that's the way it was. No, we never left home before. I mean, that would bring tears to our eyes. I mean, we felt beat down on the ground, but it made men out of us. Show me a platoon that'll go through the Marine Corps, training, basic, and walk downtown on Liberty. He doesn't slouch around with his hands in his pocket. He's marching. We walked like we were doing cadence everywhere we went. My daughter told me, one time in Dallas, she said, I was waiting to go aboard the plane. And we were about 3 or 4 of us waiting. A young man came up and he had a suitcase and he set it down on the ground, on the floor. And he was standing there and he was looking around. He said, this young fella, he said, can I ask you a question? He said, yes, ma'am. Are you a Marine? Yes, ma'am. She said, I thought so. You can see it. You can tell it when he walks down the street, if he cares at all.
Yeah, I'll bet. What else did they train you to do in boot camp?
Excuse me?
What else did they train you to do in boot camp?
It was a matter of well, your calisthenics, your marching and all that. That is to uniform right, parades, ceremonials. You have to learn and know that. The rest of it was combat training. One of the first things we did We had bayonets. And we had our rifles, and we fixed bayonets. And he had each one of us come up. And they had a dummy there. And he said, there's a Japanese soldier coming at you there. What are you going to do with that rifle? And we would thrust that blade in. But we'd just poke it. And he'd stop, grab it out of your hand, shove you back and say, you're dead. And just like that. Like, can you imagine talking to 17-year-old kids that way? Like, first time they left home, but we needed it. We're gonna face the enemy. I mean, and these guys, they've had it drilled in their head too, because a lot of them never saw any action yet. You know, too young. But he showed his. Now I want to show you something, and he took a rifle with his bayonet, and he showed us what you do. If you can't get it up, pull the trigger. It'll come out. That's what you learn.
So you went to Delta Company, 2nd Battalion, 28th Marines, 5th Marine Division, correct?
Yep. Brand new division.
It was brand new at that time.
Called Spearhead Division, and Roosevelt wanted that division specific for one thing, which we never knew till one day off the island, Iwo Jima.
Really?
Absolutely. We did not know. But I knew one thing after I saw Iwo. We didn't know it at the time, but we always invaded a knoll or a hill. If you've been out San Clemente Island?
Yes, I have.
We invaded that island.
Really?
Yes, and there was just like a volcano on it, you know, and we would approach that, and I'd use fire and everything. I mean, we trained down that island. That's what it was used for.
Wow, I trained on that island.
But we didn't understand. It didn't mean anything to us.
Yeah.
But here we're standing there looking at Mount Suribachi, and I said, my gosh, now I know what the heck we were doing.
So you went from San Diego, and then you went to New Zealand.
Yeah, that first time over.
Where?
Yes. We went to New Zealand to train, because New Zealand opened up its doors. They have a great vast of desert because they have a lot of cattle, sheep. And it was just like California. And it's only 200 square miles, you know, but they let us do that there. And so otherwise it would be Hawaii.
In New Zealand?
Yes, New Zealand.
Did you know you were going to Iwo Jima when you went to New Zealand?
Did we know we were going to New Zealand? You never know where you're going to go. That's never told. That's never brought up. You just go. Do you know we left San Diego, arrived at New Zealand 21 days later. Zigzag, 7 knots, just like that, slow. That's slow, but that was because of submarines. You don't run a straight line. You zigzag. So when we went from island to island, it took a long time.
Did you see any engagements from submarines?
Pardon?
Did you see any engagements?
We never did. And you know, I had a sailor was standing alongside the line. And I said, "Hey, this is scary. We don't have any protection." He says, "Sure you do." And I said, "Where?" He said, "Guns, we got that, but I mean out there." He said, don't worry, we got plenty of protection if we need it. Well, something happened, and I don't know what it was. We got near the equator. And all of a sudden, I heard, ooh, 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 ooh. A destroyer pulled right up alongside of us. And then they stayed for a while, and then veered off, gone, never saw them. As you look across the ocean, the waves, you can't see them anymore. You can't see them until they're on you. So you do have protection.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not going to send a convoy over there without protection.